if you gave one characteristic above all else, the one universal characteristic, I can determine when someone's going to succeed or fail, hunger. If a person has hunger, that drive, that inner drive, not drive somebody else gives them, but something inside, there's a curiosity, there's a demand, there's a need to give, there's a need to grow, there's a need to expand, there's a need to change the world. If that hunger doesn't ever get fully satisfied, that person will be successful. Because most people, if they are hungry and then they achieve a certain level and they're like, why go to work today? I've done it. Well, what else am I going to do? When you lose your hunger, you lose your drive, you lose your life. So hunger is the first characteristic. But I think the second thing is extraordinary passion. Because some people are hungry, but they just don't have enough energy to bring to the table. You find somebody, I don't care, and they all have different styles, don't get me wrong. Mark Benioff is a dear friend of mine who started Salesforce.com out of one of my seminars. He worked for Oracle. He left. He set this goal that day. I'm going to build Salesforce.com. I'm going to make it a $100 million company. His goal was $100 million. This year, they're going to do $4 billion 14 years later. Right. Now, Mark has got hunger. He never is satisfied. It doesn't mean he doesn't enjoy where he is. He totally enjoys where he is. But there's always a new level he's got to give. He's got to contribute. He's got to be on the next edge of. He's got this curiosity. He has this passion. But the third thing they all have is incredible standards. Steve Jobs had passion, different style, not talking fast like me. You could see it in the gleam of his eye. Steve Jobs had a hunger. It was never good enough. Steve Jobs, God rest his soul, this is a man who had standards that made people freak out to go sit down with him because nothing was good enough. But that's how he built the most successful company in the history of the world. So those might be three. I could give you a dozen, but those three off the top I think are the most important one. And if you don't have that hunger, you got to get hungry again. You can get hungry by getting around where it's better. Right. Like if you get around people that are incredibly successful and you spend time around there, something might strike you and you might say, what am I doing settling for this life? This is what I'm about. Or you might get hungry because you hit the ground hard enough. Like you fail hard enough that you finally it shakes you up and you say, I'm never going to be here again. Right. It happens on both sides, but hunger is that basic. Yeah, most achievers don't look at themselves as being fearful because they have an identity, so they're just stressed. But if I follow the trail of stress, it'll take me to their fear. So I'll say, what are you stressed about? I got to get this done. But what if you don't? I have to. What if you don't? It'll fall apart. What if it falls apart? Then it'll fail. What if it fails? Then I'm a failure. Right? Yes. And that's their real deepest fear. But just being angry or just being sad or just thinking of something that makes you feel depressed for 2 minutes, I know will suppress your immune system for up to 6 hours. Focusing on something you're grateful for, doing the very opposite, finding in the middle of all this, what's beautiful in my life, what's beautiful in this country, what's beautiful in my family, that stimulates the immune system in a positive way. So we're the only people on the planet that can make ourselves stress with a thought or make ourselves happy with a thought, but most of us are not really directing our thoughts. We're letting this automatic system, this 2 million-year-old brain that's designed to survive, your brain's not designed to make you happy. You have to take control to make yourself happy.
This is the amygdala, right? The reptilian part of the brain.
Emotion. Well, of course. I mean, most people don't work for themselves. If that's what you're made of, I'd say go for it. But if you're not, you still have to think like an entrepreneur. Because the world is entrepreneurial today. So if you're going to move up in a company, you have to be a person whose number one focus is add more value than anybody else does. It's the only way to do it. If you want to make twice as much money in half the time or 3 times or 4 times or 10 times, you got to figure out how do you add 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 times the value? How do you become so valuable to that company? Not by manipulation, by finding things that you can do for people. If you're going on a job interview, the number one thing I would do is do all the homework you can about that company, about who you're going to meet with, about how the company operates. And today with social media and with the web and with conversations, you can find out so much if you just take the time. Instead of doing 800 interviews, I'd be picking what my top 5 are, and I'd learn everything I could about those companies. And I'd think, are there some skill sets I need that I don't currently have that I want to go add to my repertoire so I can bring that to the table for this company as well? How might I retool my skills? Because a lot of people today are just going on job interviews, especially in America, where there have been people that have been, on unemployment for 2 years or more. And what's happened is they've lost confidence. They're not in state. They aren't certain they can succeed. And their skills are antiquated. So we're living in a world where change is happening like this. And you don't have to be in the tech business to know that the intelligence of the tech business is starting to seep into every industry. Yeah. And so today, you might want to say, okay, where's my best opportunity? There's a growing industry, obviously, in the medical field. There's a growing industry in clean energy. Maybe I have to go retool myself so that I can go get the kind of job that I want, as opposed to why do I keep failing? That'll never happen. Second, do your homework on targets. And then I would also do your homework on the person that's going to interview as much as you could. Okay. Then I'd put myself in state. I'd really say, how can I add so much value? And I'd be in there with specific things you could do. And last thing I do is go say, have some fun. Because if you enjoy yourself, the interviewer will enjoy you. But if you're in there like every moment, what you're trying to squeeze that in, you're not going to have a good time. I think you've got to be natural and real. And then the last one I'd say is go until. As simplistic as that is. I mean, guys like Disney, most people have forgotten. The guy was turned down by 102 banks. Yeah. 102 banks before they finally said yes. I mean, Colonel Sanders, 1,009 no's before he got his first franchise. 1,009. 2.5 years. Sleeping in a car in his rumpled white suit, right? So even if you aren't an entrepreneur, you still have to have the entrepreneur's drive and hunger. You still have to think about how to add value constantly. And you've got to be able to connect with people. Those skill sets are invaluable whether you own your own business or not. Like an athlete, you got to train your nervous system. Besides physically working out, I also train my mind to do and my emotions to do what's most difficult. And I do that in all kinds of ways. I like to play at my edge. That's how you get better. So I demand myself. But the first thing I do every morning as part of that ritual is I jump in a jacuzzi, which loosens the muscles, and then I jump in freezing cold water. I have a cold plunge, if you would. It's 57 degrees, and I pop into that thing. I also, for recovery's sake, I use cryotherapy, which was developed in Europe. It's amazing. A lot of athletes around the world are using it now. And it lowers your body temperature using nitrogen. So there's no water on you or you would freeze to death or you would burn. By using these gases, it brings the temperature down in your body down to minus 225 Fahrenheit, which is wild, for 3 minutes. And what it does is it like resets your whole nervous system and it takes all the inflammation out of your body. So I'm on stage and I'll do 27 miles on my most intense day of a 3-day program. So I'm doing like multiple days, an ultra marathon. Because I'm not standing there talking. I mean, people would not come. People won't sit for a 3-hour movie someone spent $300 million on to make for 2 hours. If they're going to stay with me for 50 hours over a weekend, I got to deliver, right? And I got, the Paul Tudor Joneses of the world in there, the Oprah Winfreys, and Oprah tells me, Tony, I love you, but I can't sit anywhere for more than 2 hours. In the end of 12 hours, you're standing in your chair going on camera. This is one of the greatest experiences of my life. Well, to do that, you aren't standing still. I'm plunging the audience. I'm doing things. I'm spontaneous. So that's a lot of miles. So I'm literally doing a marathon, and I go into this machine, and 3 minutes later, I come out, and the next day, it's like, instead of all these aches and pains and tears, I'm recovered. So I'm always looking for technology that can enhance my ability to perform and produce greater results and also stay healthy. Well, listen, we talked earlier on this show about the idea that there are 2 skills to master if you want an extraordinary life, being life on your terms, whatever that means for you. One was the science of achievement. The other is the art of fulfillment. And we talked about there's 3 keys to the science of achievement. I won't repeat that. But fulfillment is really unique. Everyone is fulfilled by something different. You can be in love with someone and they can be fulfilled by different things than you. The 2 fundamental elements that you really want to be fulfilled is you have to grow, as I said earlier. Progress equals happiness. If you aren't even where you want to be, you're overweight, but you start making progress, you're going to be excited. You're not where you want to be financially, but you make progress, you'll be excited. Same thing in a relationship, any part of your life. But we make progress and grow so we have something to give. When you give is when you feel most fulfilled. That's why most of us will do more for the person we love than we will for ourselves. And so if you want to overcome, you want to have a more fulfilling life, you got to see what gets in the way. And what gets in the way is emotional patterns of suffering. Suffering would be being stressed or worried or fearful or angry or sad. And we all have the pattern of doing it because we have a 2-million-year-old brain that's designed not to make you happy. It's designed to really just make you survive. So it's always looking for what's wrong. So do a little exercise with me. Look around. I'm going to test you. Find everything you can see in this room that's brown. Brown people, brown clothing, brown things. Anything that's brown, I'm going to test you. Look around. Look behind you. Don't miss anything. Close your eyes. Tell me everything you just saw that was red. Okay, open your eyes and look for red this time. Find red. You got to find red anywhere. Look for red. Look for red. Look for. How many found a lot more red this time and didn't have it in your head before? Raise your hand. Why? Because we get what we look for. Seek and ye shall find. And I'll prove it to you. You'll even find things that aren't there just to feel successful. I'll prove it to you. You'll find whatever you're looking for. How many saw beige stuff, called it brown just to feel successful? Let me see your hands. How many saw burgundy, called it red, just so you could succeed, right? So if you think you're messed up, you're going to find messed up stuff in yourself. You'll color it, or someone else. If you think you're great, you're going to find great things. So if you want to free yourself, I'm going to do a quick little meditation at the end. You've got to realize that we all suffer at times. And if you want to end suffering, you have to make the most important decision in your life, which says, I'm going to live in a beautiful state every day, no matter what, even when it doesn't go my way, even when there's injustice, even when people are unfair. Because are people going to be unjust and unfair in our lives, yes or no? And are you going to be unjust and unfair at times without meaning to be, yes or no? So if people have to behave a certain way for us to be happy, you're not going to stay happy. right? So I used to see how my happiness was so cheap. All I needed was my phone in my pocket, because I have 1,200 employees, right? All these companies, 31 companies. What are the chances someone's screwing up right now? 100%, right? Because with that many people, that moving parts. And so I just look at it and I lose my happiness, and now I don't lose it. I decided, as soon as I start to feel stressed, I kill that monster while it's little. I don't wait till it's Godzilla eating the city in my life. I stop it right away. So the way to do this, two things. One, you got to be honest with yourself that you suffer, and you got to identify what's your favorite flavor of suffering. Because we all have a favorite flavor. Some people it's worry. Some people it's anger. Some people it's boredom. Everyone has a different one. What's yours? What would be your favorite flavor of suffering, you, my dear?
Worry.
Worry. How about for you, ma'am? Worry. Wow. How about you?
Sickness.
Sickness. What about you, ma'am? Sir, the token male, tell me, what's your deepest fear? Boredom. So I want you to notice, whatever you're going in the pattern of doing, it sucks the life out of you. And when you're bored or you're worried or you're angry, you're not there with your kids the way you want to be, or your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend. So what you want to do is catch it while it's little. I used to do it the other way. I used to fly, I still do, to Australia. Unfortunately, I have to have my own plane. I'm quite privileged at this stage of my life. But I would go and be up for 14 hours. You know what my stress would be? I'd be so stressed about flying. What's stressful about sitting? But it's weird what we do in our heads. Our heads will make us stressed about anything. And I was stressed because there was no internet for 14 hours. And all this stuff is building up, more texts, more calls, more emails. I couldn't get it all done. And one day I get on the plane and they announce, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time we have international internet. It was like God entered the building. People were cheering. Oh my God, we've got Instagram, we got Facebook. This is amazing. And I wanted to cheer too, but I kept myself subdued, right? But what do you think happened within 9 minutes of the 14-hour flight? It went off and it never came back, and I don't think it's ever come back since then. And how do you think people responded to this? What do you think they did? They got angry. How dare they? What a stupid company. 9 minutes earlier, it was a miracle. Now it's already an expectation. Listen to me now. You want to change your life today? Trade your expectations for appreciation, and your whole life will change in that moment. That's the whole piece, right? So let's do a 2-minute meditation really fast. Now, it's not meditation like traditional, not think of something. How many of you have something in your life, some unfinished business that's stressful, and so you put it off and don't even try to think about it? It could be in your business, could be in your personal life, could be a relationship. How many got something at home or at work that needs to be handled, and you put it off because you're so stressed, you got so much going on? Who's got something like this? Can you think of one specifically? Yeah. Awesome. If you don't raise your hand, you'll lie about other things too, but that's okay. We'll talk about it later on. So here's what I want you to do. On a 0 to 10, if you were to try to deal with that right now, honestly, 10 is totally stressful, 0 is not at all. Where is it? Tell me the number. Say it out loud. How many got one 7 or above of stress if you focused on it? Perfect, because that'll help you change. Now, I'm going to give you a quick technique for 2 minutes. I got dozens and dozens of these, but it'll work for most of you, you'll see. So here's what we found. Research has been done on how we get stressed, and there's something interesting they discovered. When you're born, your heart starts to beat. That's birth. That's when you're alive. I don't mean born outside. I mean inside the womb. There's no brain when your heart starts to beat. What makes your heart beat? It has its own intelligence. And it affects your brain. It affects your life. It affects everything. When we get in our head, we're dead. We overanalyze. We look at things. We get stressed out. But in our heart, we know the answer. So these researchers they were nominated for a Nobel Prize because they found that if you focus on your heart, you put your hands on your heart. Let's go ahead and do it. Put your hands on your heart. In fact, if you would you stand up? I think it'll get more of your body engaged. You've been sitting so long. Shake your body out just for a second here, just for a second. If you're at home, do the same, right? All right, now, put both your hands on your heart. Breathe deep inside your heart, meaning close your eyes if you would, and feel your hands touching your heart. Feel the power of your heart. And what we're going to do is for 2 minutes, we're just going to get grateful. Remember earlier I said, the two emotions that mess us up are anger and fear. They mess up your relationships, they mess up your financial decisions, they mess up career stuff, they mess up things with our kids. But when you're grateful, you can't be angry. When you're grateful, you can't be fearful. So we're going to spend 2 minutes of gratitude, but we're going to focus on our heart because research shows wherever focus goes, energy flows. And when you focus on the heart, it changes literally how your brain functions. I could show you an image of when you're frustrated and you'll see EEGs, EKGs. That's the electrical power in your brain and your heart. And they're jagged and they're all over. We'll probably put it on the screen when they cut this. But if you breathe in your heart for 2 minutes, focusing on 3 things you're grateful for, they literally become in sync. They round and they're one. And when they're one, your heart has the answer. So breathe deep in your heart, and let's begin. As you breathe deep in your heart, feel the power of your heart. Feel the strength of your heart. Feel the beauty of your heart. What are you proud your heart has guided you to do in this life? Or to give? Or to enjoy? Or to love? Feel the power of your heart. It beats 100,000 times a day, and you don't have to do it. You don't have to do anything. In fact, something loved you enough to give you this heart at the very beginning. You didn't have to earn it, did you? You didn't have to prove yourself. You didn't have to prove your worth. Something knows your worth and gave you this gift. You can call it God, the universe, whatever you call it, but feel that powerful heart that beats and is always there for you and has been for decades, and give thanks for it. And as you're breathing in this sense of appreciation and gratitude, we're going to take about 1.5 minutes and focus on 3 moments in your life you could feel deeply grateful for. They could be any 3 moments. It could be from your childhood. It could be from today. It could have been from 10 months ago. Any moment that you could step back in that memory as if you were there and fill up with a sense of gratitude. So right now, I'd like you to think of one of those moments. A magic moment, a beautiful moment from any stage of your life. What's been one of the most beautiful moments of your life?
Having my daughter.
Yes. So breathe deep. Breathe in your heart and step into that moment that you cherish and fill up with appreciation, with gratitude, with joy, and feel yourself going into a beautiful state as you breathe in your heart and feel like you're there. Think of a second moment now that you could be deeply grateful for. Again, it could have been at any stage. It could be something little or big. Step into that moment. Breathe like you were breathing then. See what you were seeing then. Hear and feel what you were hearing and feeling then. And fill up with that feeling of gratitude, of enjoyment. And then finally, one more moment that you could feel grateful for. What would be a really beautiful moment in your life you could relive? Step into that moment now. Breathe deep into it. See what you saw. Hear what you heard, feel what you felt. Fill up. Fill up with love or gratitude or joy. And if you can feel it, it feels good, make a sound. Don't hesitate, like a little kid. Make a sound that feels good to you. Just go. Make the sound. Do it again. And one more time and make it even louder. That's awesome. Now, continue to feel your heart in this gratitude. I bet there have been times in your life where things happened for you that you didn't make happen. It was like a coincidence. You went to go do something and you met somebody you love. Or do something that led to a career or a friendship. What's a coincidence you're grateful for that led to something beautiful? And what if life was always happening for you, not to you? What if you really believed that even the pain was a gift because it got you to grow or change or expand? What if everything was happening for you? And now you're in a really beautiful state. Keep breathing in your heart. And all I need to focus on, all I need to believe, all I need to do is what? And your heart knows the answer. Raise your right hand with your eyes closed if you know the answer. If you know exactly what to do to resolve the situation, raise your right hand nice and high if you would right now. And keep your hand up. As soon as you got it, raise your hand. Perfect. Keep your hand up. And then open your eyes and look at the percentage of people who just in 2 minutes have figured out how to solve what was so stressful. If you look around, it's about 90%. For those of you that are still there, you're kind of hanging on a little bit. And for those that are doing that, there are other techniques, but did it reduce it? Yes, even for those. So for you, ma'am, you didn't. Which one didn't raise your hand? One of you didn't raise your hand. Yeah. So did it reduce it for you? So where was it and where is it now? Oh, went from a 9 to a 6. So we could do a second one and we'll stack it. So what I want you to do is, this is a way in 2 minutes. You're starting to feel stressed. You breathe in your heart. You focus on what you're grateful, 3 things. And then you look at the problem and from your heart, you solve it. How many got it? Let me see your hands. How many got it like this? Give yourselves a big hand. It's a beautiful experience. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to serve you.